That was likely user error, so it's okay. It's all good. Don't worry about it, Jen. It's all good. All right. Good evening, everyone. My name is Karen Englert, and it's such an honor to be with you here tonight. Really, it's my hope just to share a little bit with you all about how both desperation and grace have truly been life-changing gifts in my life. So this particular chapter of my story began in early 2016. I had been recruited to a well-known agency and was really excited to do meaningful work. The work would push me far out of my comfort zone, but I felt ready to tackle new expectations. I had everything, the drive, the eagerness, the passion. I truly felt ready. Now, I was raised in a family of overachievers with a military father. Maybe some of you can relate. And this had served me really, really well until this time. I was about to learn truly invaluable lessons in pushing myself too far, in losing my authentic self, and in putting metrics before quality. From day one, I was out of the gate, working statewide on policy and systems changes. I was building allies. I was creating long-term sustainable health improvements. I was killing it. I was quickly recognized with numerous awards, and these accolades only bolstered this internal dialogue that I needed to do more. I needed to do it better, and I needed to do it faster. All the outward signs pointed to a long, successful career, but inside, I was miserable. As I said, I was killing it, and it was killing me. During this period, I traveled about 60% of the time. I was indulging and hiding in really unhealthy behaviors that centered around excessive drinking. I worked 70-plus hours a week. I slept on occasion, and really just justified some pretty poor life choices. I had become really distant from my beautiful family. I was immersed in a heavily dominated male field, and in fighting for my voice, I suddenly lost my authentic self. I also lost sight of the core values that had served me so well and has served as guideposts. But more than that, I became numb to the most crucial aspects of my life. It's not that I was burning the candle at both ends. I had run out of candle. It was gone. So by November 2018, I knew something had to change or I was going to die. And it was as simple as that. I had created a really terrible situation. So now I had to create a meaningful long-term solution. I often joke that I think God has a really funny sense of humor. And trust me, during this time, his wit was in full effect. I was helping create a healthier Missouri and killing myself in the process. So there's some irony. Now, without going into too much detail, because that is another story for another day, and I don't know you all that well, life caught up with me, and it handed me a few significant crises. And during this time, those moments helped me set new intentions for my life. So during all of this, a local nonprofit contacted me about a role, and it was going to be a dramatic change. But it would mean I would stop traveling. It meant I could spend some time getting healthy again, and I could get back to my roots in nonprofit leadership. And I was really uncertain. And as a person who strives in what I thought was strategic thinking and like really anticipating change, I was so uncomfortable, right? And that is an icky place to be. There's a quote that comes to mind a lot when I think about this period of my life, and it says, "There's power in the pause and wisdom in the waiting." And so I just dug into the discomfort, the ugliness, the fear, the shame, and there was a lot of that, but also the possibility of what really could be next. I had the luxury to take a little bit of time off from work and really just sit in it, right? And figure out what made sense for me, what needed to come next. Sometimes it's really not about changing one thing. It's about being willing to change every single thing. And I had to start by getting brutally honest with myself, with my teammates, most importantly, my loved ones. I had been given the gift of desperation, and even though I was terrified, I embraced it. During this time, I connected with my personal board of directors, which is something I recommend for everyone, but especially women. And I listened to these kind, smart women, and I prayed hard, and I said yes. And it was the best yes I have ever said. Fast track 1 year from starting in a brand new role, a much improved, healthier self was tapped on the shoulder to take over the entire organization. With promotion to Chief Executive Officer of Boys and Girls Clubs of St. Charles County in March of 2020, I took the reins just 2 days prior. 2 days to the pandemic lockdown. That's right, I had 48 hours to figure out what I was doing before I became the woman in charge. But now the real work started. The meaningful work started. I was responsible for the business, for our employees, and the hundreds of children that were in our care. So I had to figure out ways to first create stability, because everything we had was all up in the air, right? And then maintain it long term. I needed to protect a nonprofit that had existed 65 years before I got there. And I was not going to be the one, right, that it blew up on. I mean, that's embarrassing. More than that, I needed to lead a team of 30 professionals during the most scary, uncertain times most of us had ever faced. So we navigated a safe reopening in June of 2020. We became the first youth-serving organization in all of St. Charles County to resume in-person services. This allowed essential workers to maintain employment, and it allowed us to feed kids and provide services and programs and just make sure they were okay, because their whole life had been thrown up in the air. In addition, during this time when I'm what can't we do? I thought, well, I want to make sure every single staff member keeps their job. And we did it. Nobody got furloughed. Nobody got laid off. Everybody came back to a higher rate of pay. And I'm very, very proud of that. So during all of that, right, I don't just get to decide, oh, I'm in charge, so now you get more, which would be nice, but no. I had to work so strategically. I had to engage with our board, with our partners, with community stakeholders, with long-term funders, right, to really figure out how do we make this sustainable. And so by intentionally strengthening some core business strategies, we were able to not only kind of get through that time, but then set really aggressive growth goals. In August of 2022, we opened our very first school-based site in an adjacent county. In doing so, we reached maximum enrollment before the year even started. We removed barriers to entry for families who needed crucial services. Of all the pivotal moments in my career, that expansion westward, right, serving a whole new group and keeping the staff safely employed during COVID, got to rank in my top 5. Absolutely. But this was intentional work. This is the meaningful work that I mentioned earlier. And I'm not going to lie, it was a heavy lift. I had set in motion some core changes to a model that had been in place for almost 70 years. And there were days of clear, calm seas, and then others where there were massive waves with very strong currents. There were times I felt so uncertain, so incredibly scared, really exhausted. But really, ultimately, the things we most often want are just on the other side of fear, so we have to be afraid and do it anyway. And so that's just what we kept doing. We just kept being afraid and doing it anyway. Life has taught me so much about desperation and failure, and then the grace that is found within it. So one of my favorite writers, Anne Lamott, once wrote, "I do not understand the mystery of grace, only that it meets us where we are, but it does not leave us where it found us." And that resonates with me so deeply, because at this point in my life, I am not afraid to make glorious mistakes, learn, transfer the lesson to the next endeavor, and then just keep moving forward. I'm also at the point in my life where I absolutely know that no leader, absolutely no good leader stands alone, period. I am only as successful as my team. And with the right dynamic, a unified drive, and diverse perspectives in place, everyone wins. So the last 7 years have taught me so many valuable lessons and skills, some harder earned than others. But ultimately, true leadership is about service. It's not the title. It's not the ego. It's not the pretty awards. It's service. Simply put, it's not about being right. It's about getting it right. And so I encourage you to live, love, and lead with intention. Hang on to your deepest held values and beliefs. Lean into discomfort so that you can stretch and grow, and then strive for success, not just a specific outcome. And then go. Go lead, achieve, empower others along the way. Thank you.